An interview question, why do you paint?
I mean, it's always a fun question to think about.
That's a great question, and one that I ask myself sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why did I do this?
What drives me? Painting keeps me out of prison.
Because I'm crazy. Yes. When I saw the email and I saw that question, I was like, that's my answer.
I paint to contribute to the discussion about topics that I'm interested in. So those topics could be current events, controversy, identity, things like that. Painting really allows me to make a statement about the things that I find important and the things I'm interested in.
I think when I was young, initially it was just, I liked the idea of recreating what I saw. I've always been a realist painter. And now it's more autobiographical. I'm inspired by all the things around me. I'm driven to create things that are part of my world. So whether that's places I visited or the environment around me or my children, I think we all want to tell our story. And this is how I can tell my story.
I have to tell stories. I have to represent. It's like a purpose for me. Being in this specific body is inspiring because of all the trials and conflicts. Although it can be funny and beautiful, like it's complicated to be in a presumably female body, but also be Black and be in America. So just having that experience and wanting to share that experience, because so often it's pushed off to the side or not represented in a nice or beautiful way, that's inspiring for me enough. And I hope that as I age, even it continues from there.
My research is based on mythology, ancient sculpture, and feminism. Ancient sculpture kind of led to my interest in mythology because mythological characters are often portrayed in ancient sculpture. So I think when I saw the Nike of Samothrace, that was my first love of ancient sculpture, and then it kept going. I feel like I interpret these stories and I look at this sculpture through a feminist lens. It brings me joy.
I started from a young age drawing, and I think it's something that I've kind of tried to reject throughout my life, but it's constantly called me back home to myself. And I think it's the way that I tell my story and explore my relationship with the ego that is Malia on a bigger level, like how I kind of interact with the collective subconscious that we all exist in, this story of humanity. I know I'm picking up on influences from other people as much as I am myself, and that's what the beauty of art is to me.
You know what, typically it was just all about just having fun, just the joy of painting. It was always like that for me, but not so long ago, I recently realized that it's more than that for me now. It's almost like a therapy for me, meaning that, I can't go too long without painting. So typically I think it's a combination of both. It's, my joy of painting, always in my life, and the need and the passion to paint almost every day. And I'm trying to do that, or else I'm getting sick.
I have to paint. It's just what I do. Some people have to work out. Some people have to shop. I have to paint. Otherwise, I'm just not me.
The main thing that gets me to paint, that gets me up throughout my day, it's my therapy session. I'm deeply selfish when I paint. It's strictly for me. I don't necessarily paint for anyone else. It's my opportunity to meditate, to become still, to become almost one with the world, to where I can release everything that I'm feeling inside. Going through the corporate world, going through life in general, you find yourself in a constant grind, and you look up and you haven't found time for yourself to decompress and allow yourself to experience anything, to feel anything, just to release everything that's been pent up inside. And so that's really what drives me, what motivates me to paint. And, to be frank, I get into those work modes so much that I don't find time. And so when I do sit down and paint, I try to knock out as much as I can, because that moment is relatively fleeting.
I think one of the biggest parts for me with art is it's therapy. It's the one time where the mind just shuts off and you can just focus on the piece in front of you. You can be present, and it's like meditation. I sometimes will catch myself painting with pastel in particular, where I'll find that I'm breathing in and out with the brush stroke. So I'm having this sort of meditative experience as I'm painting on the canvas. So it kind of puts me in a trance and makes me like one with the piece. It's a really cool experience.
For me, painting is a personal meditation. It's a way of channeling, your deeper knowledge or understanding of the world around you, the human experience, and bringing that out to initiate a conversation with others. It's a way of connecting with people on a different plane than you might in just a casual conversation.
Let's put it this way, I'm completely myself in front of a blank canvas. There's a childlike anticipation every time I start a new piece. And I think those are the things that actually provoke the ongoing love for being a painter. I can't even imagine when I meet these certain individuals, perfect strangers, I should say, for the first time, and I provoked an emotion in them when they look at my work. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me, and it's a wonderful thing. I don't even think I can truly express what that does inside of me as an artist. And I think those are the things that keep me going as a painter.
I've always loved making things, and I kind of have this inherent desire to create. And I used to be really big into academics, and I'm a big believer in, if I'm gonna do something and put my name to it, I'm gonna do it the best that I possibly can. And so taking kind of that passion for learning in general and combining it with my need to create and really honing my craft. I love pushing myself and getting better and better. And so that's the big thing, really. I do it for myself. It's completely selfish.
I just like to make things that are interesting and things that I hope people think are beautiful. And it's more about the process than anything. So I think coming from a painting and printmaking background, using a process to kind of refine your technique is the challenge and the fun of it and the frustration of it. So, but I would say that's a big reason why I like to do it is you're trying new things, and there's so many different aspects you can lay into it, like storytelling and expressing yourself. But in the end, I think it's more of just like, I enjoy the process from start to finish and tweaking it and seeing what I can do to make it better or more interesting in the long run.
More and more as I've gotten older, the mastery of working with hands, or even like, someone who writes, someone who composes music, plays music, sports. There's a few things where in a certain sense, the physical body skills and ability of doing something is still in a sense honored, pleasured. And painting is one of for me, is that this idea of mastering old materials that in a certain sense you have to understand, you have to be able to constantly learn, still using the hands and the mind and the eye in a way with materials without the need of mass technology. It's a futile resistance, but it's something.
Well, all my life I've been just creating, drawing mainly. I was just constantly drawing as a child, just everything, anything, and mainly just being infuriated by the fact that I couldn't get things to be perfect. And then it really wasn't until my last year in art school when I needed to take a bunch of the ideas that I had that were in smaller format, and I needed to just transfer that into a larger scale. And I really wanted a medium that I could work with that could just kind of explode onto a canvas, that didn't have any inhibiting factors. So painting for me was kind of like the natural next step, and oil painting in particular, because to me, it's a material that's like you can use in so many different ways. The aesthetic possibilities are endless.
I paint partially because I can't imagine doing anything else. As soon as I used oil paints, I fell in love. I was in school and I was studying psychology and taking kind of my electives in art because I've always loved art. And as soon as I used oil paints, I kind of just 180'd and said, I can't imagine doing anything other than this all the time. So that's part of the reason. And the other part, I think, is because I love how visual language is a universal language, that it doesn't matter where you're from necessarily or what language you actually speak, even if you're a child and you don't even know how to read. I think that art and different mediums, especially painting or sculpture, these are things that you can read into and they can understand that there's a story that's being told and that they can kind of come at it with any interpretation, and everybody's interpretation is correct.
I paint to bring life, light, and hope to the viewer. I want to shine light on individuals and shining light on their journey in discovering who they are and who they are made to be.
From the age of about 12, since seeing the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, I wanted to be a musician. So after about 4 years of giving that a go, I discovered I really didn't have the talent. So I picked up a drawing pencil in high school. I was about 15 and I haven't put it down since. So that was what I transitioned into as an artist. And I've been drawing ever since.
I was talking to a girlfriend about this question because I didn't know how to answer it. It was just kind of, I've always done it. And she had to rephrase it, and she says, what is the feeling you're chasing when you paint? And that completely changed it. And I thought about it, and I paint to stay in the moment and to get out of my mind. It's the one time when I'm not constantly going crazy in here and I can just be present.
Survival mode inspires my work, actually. When I feel very panicked or when I just don't know what to do, boom, artwork right there. That's it. It's always answer. It's never wrong. I'm very inspired by self. I draw and I paint a lot of my siblings because I feel like they represent different parts of me. It's a selfish inspiration, absolutely. But I feel like everyone can take something from it, from every piece, definitely.
Normally it's hard to say, but I thought about it today. And I paint because I have thoughts that I need to communicate. And I think and I feel about us strongly and our strengths, our weaknesses, and I want to communicate my thoughts. I'm generally upbeat when I see the big and small things that unite us, that we have in common. And I want other people to think about that or what they choose to think about.
Use it as a communication tool, I think. Like figurative artwork is very easy to communicate ideas or tell a story. I guess it just comes natural to me. Well, for me anyways, I feel like I want to understand my environment, or understand any political situations, cultural, any ideas that might come to mind. I observe it and take it all in, and this is what comes out of it. So that's what I feel like I make art. I don't really consider myself a painter. I think I consider myself more of an artist than a painter.
My inspiration really is I really am intrigued about our experiences in living. I love the way the movements of the body reveal our emotions. You might say how the body language really explains it. Some people say the soul. I just start off with a sheet of metal that I cut, I fold, I pound, I assemble the pieces into human figures and set them in a position of motion. If you look up close, the figures are pretty imperfect. When you step back, they reveal passion and just the wonder of being alive. Actually, I kind of like that idea. It seems to kind of sum up what life is all about.